Welcome back to You Were Born Creators. We have a fantastic show for you today. Peggy McColl, a multiple New York Times best-selling author of 16 books and counting in over 37 languages in 100 different countries. Now, she has helped authors like Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, Dean Graziosi, Wayne Dyer. I love Wayne, and fantastic writer. Mariam Williamson, Greg Braden, another mind ahead of his time. Robin Sharma, the monk who sold his Ferrari. Brian Proctor, Bob Proctor's son, and Debbie Ford, and many, many more. She has been called the bestseller maker and manifestation mentor. And I don't think any of that even touches the truth of who she really is. Peggy, welcome to the show, and thank you for coming on.
It's such a pleasure. Anytime I can share, help, guide another, I am always there. And, you know, sometimes I found that sometimes people don't ask. And if we ask, we get. And that's a big part of success as well. So I was so delighted when Brian asked to do this interview. And the fact that I was doing it with you was even better.
Well, and that leads me to, I wanted to share with everyone what you just said. They don't ask. I walk into LA earlier in the spring. I want to say it was the middle of summer, perhaps. It was at a Bob Proctor seminar. And I walk in and I look over in the corner and I'm like, no way, that's Peggy McColl. And I thought, do I or don't I? Do they ask, like you just said? And I thought, you know, I'm just going to go up and introduce myself. And I did. And I wanted to say to you, for everyone to know, you were so cordial and you were just so eloquent about it. There was no feeling I was interrupting you or anything like that. And then just a few moments later, you look up and I feel some presence behind me. I turn around and there's Bob Proctor, and you introduced me to Bob. And I thought, what a great 10 minutes. I mean, this is just a great 10 minutes. So that was just incredible. And listen, we can talk all day about your accomplishments. I mean, anyone could Google you and they can just, you know, you can fill up pages and hours of studying your accomplishments. But what we really want to do, if it's all right with you, we'd like to talk a little bit more about you, who you are, how you've become how you are, why you're so dynamic, and why you, and just quite frankly, work like you do. I mean, you're all over the place. And so I want to ask you just straight, what is your heartfelt mission and purpose that drives all of this?
Well, that's a great question. You know, when I think back to who I was before and who I am now, it's like they're completely different people. And I'm quite certain if I ran into someone that I knew when I was in high school, they would probably want a DNA test to make sure you're really that Peggy McColl, because I was a miserable, suicidal, messed up young woman. And it's nobody's fault. I'm not blaming anyone. It's just, you know, the conditioning that I had created for myself, reaffirming certain things. And I was in a messy, messy situation in my life. And so I was blessed when I was at the young age of 20 to meet Bob Proctor. And I didn't want to go to that seminar. I went to that seminar, but I decided to go to that seminar. And I'm glad I did, because that's what changed my life. But I'm getting to the point, and that is the information of personal development that many masters have shared over decades that I've applied in my life, and I've changed my life. When I was in personal pain, it's not a symptom or something that you can see physically on someone. It's usually reflective in their results. But I was in a lot of pain, emotional pain. And I
think, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that's the most important part of your story that I want people to grasp. When you show that picture of your little house and how you talk to mom about becoming an author or whoever in your family, and they're like, you? And when the average person thinks, I can't do it, Peggy's golden silver spoon and she's so great, that's not the truth.
Yeah, it's true. I have a picture of that. Can I show it?
Please.
Yeah, let's share it.
Because it speaks volumes, you know, because those are the things. Look at that. There you go. There's nothing wrong with a home like that, but I think the level of accomplishment you've achieved, people don't connect those dots.
Right. It's true. They really don't connect those dots. But that's who I was. That's where I lived. That's how I lived. It was miserable. It was challenging. And I got myself out of that prison. It's like Bob Proctor quoted Vernon Howard, and he said, you can't escape from a prison unless you know you're in one. And I think all of us to some degree create certain types of prisons, and it's really just our paradigms that we have. So when I escaped from this prison, emotionally escaped from the prison, and I started to produce better results, I made a decision that if I can do it, well, anybody can, because I was like a mess. I mean, I couldn't even look in a mirror.
Peggy, when was the day? When was the turning point? What was the moment that you could take your finger and go back to and say, that was it? It was Bob's thing. It was something he said. Do you have a moment that kind of sticks out?
Yeah, it does. It was in 1984. So it was a long time ago now. I'd already been studying 4 years at that point. I really started experiencing some real positive change in me. And I was walking down Yonge Street in Toronto, and I stopped in my tracks. I was working for a company back then, a technology company. I stopped in my tracks and I just made a decision. One day I will be working in this business, and I'm going to help other people get out of their pain and produce the results that they want. So I remember that moment.
See, I have goosebumps because when you say that, you know, the people, they can't always point to moments. That's incredible. So you literally remember where you were at on Yonge Street, and you remember the moment. That's incredible. That is incredible.
I think what had occurred was I'm walking along Yonge Street, and there's stores, right? And I saw my reflection. And normally if I saw my reflection, I would just either do something like this, ew, or, or just feel a sick feeling inside because I just saw, you know, a reflection of who I am. And I didn't have that experience. And that was it. It was like, whoa, it was a defining moment for me.
But something interesting you said I'd been studying about 4 years up to that point. So that had been taking effect. The seed had been planted, it had been growing, and then you had gotten to the point, today's the day. That's neat. I love that. That's amazing. Hey, when I say, and I want to get onto the Power Life script here in a moment, because I think you're onto something that can change the world.
I absolutely agree
with that. I really mean that. I'm using it. Madison uses it, Brian, and many, many others. And I think it's one of the neatest things. But when I say to you, thinking about everything you've done and what you've done, when you heard about this, you were born creators. How does that hit you when you hear that? What does that spawn up in you in terms of thoughts, ideas, feelings?
The words "you were born creators"?
Yeah.
Well, look at this. This is my first book on being the creator of your destiny.
So we're not first. Oh my gosh. What year was that book?
That was 2002.
Wow. So that was your first one.
That was my
so
first
here you
one.
are, then you're averaging a book a year, basically, almost, plus all the other help and support you're giving to other writers and people around the country.
Right. Yeah. Something like that. I mean, I get ideas for books every minute. It's like there's a woman in this world giving birth to, no, there's a baby born every minute. Someone needs to find that woman and stop her.
Well, when this came to me, and I don't want to spend any time, this is about you today, but it came to me in the middle of the night. And basically the bottom line of it is this isn't Harry Potter waving a magic wand and instantaneously. We all understand that. But can you speak to the idea of that concept, that how do we get what we get? How do you feel we get what we get? And just kind of in a few moments, share with someone that's been trapped on a desert island for 30 years. They've never heard of any of this. And you're going to just kind of introduce it to them in a couple of moments. How would you do that?
All right. That's a great question. Well, I've been at this for 41 years, the studying part. And I found that the secret to living your fulfilled life is to feel it as if it's already here right now. One of the things that I keep on my desk is this little wooden engraved, I had these made actually, this little thing.
Ooh, I like that.
And, you know, it says, as you can see, now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And that's the secret to everything. It's like, what would you love, right? I also have on here, your success is absolutely guaranteed. And what would you love? Because this question puts you into the state of feeling the connection to whatever it is that you want. And if you know that your success is absolutely guaranteed, what would you do? What would you create? So I really believe that feeling is the secret. You've got to imagine and live from the place that your wish is already fulfilled.
So that's very Neville Goddard. And that was in the 30s, 40s, I think 50s, he was writing that. And that you have felt absolutely as a fact in your life. I know you have enough evidence. Your Power Life script thing has, I think, 16 or 17 different cases, as you call them, where you point it out. And that's amazing. So we know what you've done. We've watched it from the sidelines, cheering you on and just in amazement, literally. What's Peggy's vision for the next 10 years? What are you wanting to do? What type of people are you wanting to help? What's your legacy?
Well, that's a great question. Well, I see me doing this. I am 61 years of age at this time, and I have no intention of slowing down or retiring or anything like that. My husband actually retired about 11 years ago, and thankfully he's fine with me doing what I'm doing, and I'm fine with him doing what he's doing. He's totally into sports and all of that. But I am just going to serve people in the world in only positive ways. I see myself doing that to greater and greater numbers, to more and more people. I continue to expand my own awareness and understanding as well. And I don't see it really being a lot different than what it is today, other than the numbers are going to increase.
Obviously, yeah, they do. I notice you're on every stage that I've noticed with Bob Proctor. How did that happen?
I intended it. Maybe Bob
Of course.
did. I don't know whether Bob intended it or not. It is in my Power Life script. But when I started studying with Bob 41 years ago, I never stopped. And if I look around the room, like if I'm in a conference or in an event with Bob, I don't see a lot of people that were there 41 years ago. Maybe his son, Brian, because, he's 50 some odd years of age. And, but I don't think it's just that. I really believe the reason why Bob has me on stage is because he knows my heart. He knows I genuinely want to help people, and so does he. And he also knows that I move into action. So I don't just sit on my butt and do nothing and sit there and study. I'm a mover and a shaker. And he likes that. He's a fast-paced kind of guy, and he's really making things happen. And I've learned from the best, of course. And I think he respects that. He often talks about, by their fruits you will know them. Like,
sure.
If you want to know what someone's like, look at their results. And so he looks at my results. They continue to get better and better. And I think it's an example or a representation of what he teaches. And it's not that he's taking claim for it, because he would never do that. Because if he took claim for my success, he'd have to take claim for any failures as well.
Yeah, he would. That's incredible. So with respect to that, obviously, by their fruits you will know them. I also look at your actions as your motives. Obviously, let's be real, you don't need the money. Bob hasn't needed the money in, I don't know, decades, right? So there is a truth to your actions as being service to many leads to greatness. It's in your hearts. It's real.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. It really
and I think that's the neat thing about you, because you can come to you, both of you, and Brian and Maddie, and what everyone's doing here, and you can look at it and you can go, I trust the motive. It's pure. And I know that they want to benefit and help. And that makes people, they trust that, and they like that better, I think, because they know the motive's pure.
Absolutely. It's energy, right? It's energy in motion. And like energy attracts like energy. You put out good, you get back good. You put out bad, you get back bad. I mean, it's pretty simple. I really believe all the philosophies of success are really rather simple. They're just a little more challenging because we're such habitual creatures, but it really is simple.
It is simple, but complicated due to the programming and the paradigms, due to upbringing and all of it. And we just keep going back in the same loop if we're not careful, many of us. The paradigm is an insidious little stinker, isn't it?
It is what it is. I don't look at it. Is what it is. I wrap my arms around and give it some love.
Give it some love. That's how you do it. You give it some love. So here's what I would like to know now, because I really feel, and I mean this from the heart, I think you do a lot of amazing work. When you can take a young, inspiring author and help them have a voice, help them have a methodology, because there is a method to it. And then once the book's done, then there's a marketing side to it, and you are doing fantastic work there. But this Power Life script, I think is your, I think it's your real coup de grace.
I agree.
Would you mind just sharing how it came about, how you use it a little? Because I think it's so important that if anybody would get one and follow the the directions as you lay it out so eloquently, and just surrender to the process.
Yeah.
Let the results speak for themselves.
So such a great question. And really it's surrendering to the process because it works. It's like that expression. If you hear something over and over again, you will believe it. Right? It's like how we've been programmed. You know, when as kids, we heard our parents saying things over and over again. We started to believe it. You're so smart. You're so smart. I didn't hear those words, but anyways, I know other kids did too. And so they started to believe it, and they may or may not have been smart. Their IQ might not have been any different than the next guy, but they believed it. So I came out with this process back in the middle of the 90s. Because I was working toward a goal, and the goal was this dream home that I decided to buy. And I had no money when I went to buy it. I was going through a divorce, which was emotionally challenging. And I just made a decision, I'm going to buy a house. And I decided to buy this dream home. But through the process of going through the decision and then purchasing it and then feeling that fear come up and be all consuming, I created sets of strategies that I would implement that would put me back in alignment because I get off track and want to get back on track. I get off track, want to get back on track. So to reprogram my brain to have the consistent alignment with my goods that I desire, which is the secret to success, I created a recording and I called it my Power Life Script. So I created a description of what is my life like now that I'm living my dreams. And I just wrote it out as if it was present tense. I'm living it now. I'm enjoying it now. It was filled with emotion. And I recorded it and I would listen to it every single day over and over again, over and over again. And it really created a greater sense of calm, right? A higher sense of confidence. It established more faith in the unknown, in the unseen. And it just made it so much easier and it manifested faster. And I decided, wow, this will work on anything. And I just became very serious. So anytime I came up with a goal or a new goal or something that I wanted or something that I loved, I would implement it into my Power Life Script.
Interesting. You know, Greg Braden, one of the authors who you know well, some research as of late, and perhaps you know this, talks about that the heart is 5,000 times more magnetic than the brain.
Beautiful.
According to his research, him and Dispenza and a couple of the guys. So I think that's your secret. You're seeing the vision. Bob says we think in pictures. And as you're doing the life script, you're involving the heart, the emotions, which is creating the magnetism to the vision. It's tying it together. And I think you've stumbled into something amazing. Call it stumbled, created, whatever, but it works.
I absolutely agree. You know, and I've been saying that for a long time. And a lot of people know me as the bestseller maker, and I do online marketing as well. But I absolutely agree. This is the thing. And I just want to get it out to absolutely everybody and anybody because it's changed my life and it's changed other people's lives. And it's fun now because when I do go to Bob events, and of course, if I speak there, I have people coming up to me going, oh my God, I've been using the Power Life Script now for 4 months. And I'll say, well, what has happened? And they'll tell me the results, right? Or they'll just email me or call me or whatever, send a message on social media and tell me about the things that they've created in their life, which were completely, unknown how they're ever going to get there. They were miraculous to what some people might define it, but they're not miraculous because they believed it, they saw it. And even if they didn't believe it, and that's the thing too, you don't have to believe it. You just have to make a decision. What would you love? And you have to do the work, obviously, but it's so freaking easy, excuse my language. Okay, so I have to put these in my ears every day. And sometimes if my husband's out golfing or whatever, I'll just have it play on my speaker, right? But most of the time I'm putting these in my ears after I've done my other morning exercises. I grab my phone, I push play, and boom, bang. I am reprogramming my mind. And I can do it while I'm having coffee in the morning. Sometimes I'll be sitting with my husband and we'll be having coffee and having a conversation. It's still playing. It's right.
I'm listening to you, honey. I'm listening.
You know what I've done? There have been times, like I record these little videos that I send out. I'll actually put them in my ears. I'll record a video. I'm teaching something, I'm talking about something, and it's playing in my ears. And it demonstrates to people that, we're taking in information all the time.
Oh, yeah.
People that have the news on all the time, or they fall asleep to the news. Someone told me yesterday they fall asleep to the news. It's like, all that stuff's going in. It's going in. It's going in.
You know, what's so neat about this too for you is if someone calls you and they say, hey, I want you to help me write a book, and you have them come into one of your amazing classes that are, you can have them at any level they want, even go out to the cottage if they want. But what's so neat about this is that's just a book. This applies in every single area of your life.
Yeah.
So you can help a mother wanting to be a better mother, or a teacher wanting to be a better teacher, or a writer wanting to be a better writer, or whatever. It's unlimited.
Yeah. Anything. I attracted my husband. He's like
the story is incredible.
Right. Like I tell people, I won the lottery. I won the lottery of love. And that's the lottery that I won with Denny. And we've been together now 15 years. It was this month actually. And
but he brought a package, a misplaced package that come to a wrong address to your door. So you didn't even have to go out. Is that right?
My girlfriends used to say, well, how are you going to meet him? You don't go out.
I'm going to answer the doorbell. That's what I'm going to
do. and so, yeah, one friend said, what do you think? He's just going to come to your door? I said, well, he's going to come however he's going to come. Like, I don't have to know how. That is the greatest lesson I ever learned from Bob. You don't have to know how. Decide what you want, get in vibrational alignment with it, feel as if it's here now, and the how's going to show up.
And that is so opposite that is taught everywhere. And this is why one of the targets for You Were Born Creators is going to be to meet the younger people, because like Brian says, it's just so much easier to help a child or a younger person decide than to change the mind of an adult.
Yeah.
So
I have a grandson. He's 8 years old. And if anyone knows me.
James.
Yes.
Right?
You hear me talking about James, who I love to the moon and back.
Yeah.
And, he hears us all the time. He's in my car. He's hearing my life script. It's playing all the time. And so one day he said, Grandma, I want to create one of those. And so, what would you love? Like, what would you love to create? And so we started to record it. And I still have him, like when he was a little
Isn't that great?
Like, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, like grandma. And so, and I know his programming is so good. The other day I went to pick him up off the school bus, and he got off the school bus. I was standing there with his mom, my daughter-in-law, waiting for James. And he comes off the school bus and he said that there's a 6th grader, and James is in 3rd grade. And he said, there's a 6th grader on the bus that was bullying me. And I just wanted to go punch the guy's lights out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Grandma, don't poke at the bear's grandson.
Yeah. Grandma. And so, Kayla said to him, well, would you like me to drive you to school instead of taking the bus? And he goes, no, I can handle it. And he is so strong emotionally because he's been programmed at such a young age. So it's really good. It
is good, because just think about the advantage. Think about what you were hearing at 18 in your ear, the support that you didn't have. It is what it is. And then think about the difference. And I say it to Madison too. I say, if you knew, I can't even imagine the disparity of where you are and what you're thinking and what you know to where I was when I was 23.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So these kids, Madison, I don't call her kid. She's an intelligent young woman. She's highly accomplished. Bob Proctor's youngest silver pin holder in the history of the company. And it's amazing accomplishment. But what they will do, what James will do, is probably going to blow your mind.
Yeah, I think you're
right. The potential to. So if you would, for those that are watching this for an interest in an authorship or working with you, just kind of, if you want to share real quick, kind of a couple of the programs that you have in relation to that and how they find you.
Yes.
How would that go?
Well, I've created a couple programs. One is called the Complete Author Program, and that's how to write your book and how to make it a bestseller, which frankly, if you're going to write the book, it's a great idea to make it a bestseller, because any author that's written a book, they want to get into the hands of the readers. Now, I learned very early on that once you've written a book and published a book, whether you're self-publishing or going through a publisher, 5% of your job is done. It's really about the marketing. So that's the 95%.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and I've self-published. I've published with publishing houses. I've created books that started as an ebook and then became a physical book. I mean, I've been every side of this equation. I've got books published in many languages, 37 languages, sold all over the world. So I know all the aspects of what's important to be a successful author. But I've also created another program called $1 Million in a Month. And this can involve doing an ebook. That an ebook could be used as a lead generator to another program. And $1 million in a month is really an online marketing program. Now, I have many authors that take it, but I have many non-authors that take it. I have people that want to be an author that take it. And so I walk them through essentially what I've been doing for the last couple of decades on how to effectively market online, how to serve people at doing work that's deeply fulfilling, and how you can earn whatever it is that you desire, whether it is $1 million a month or $1 million in a day.
Yeah, like Neil Donald Walsh, his claim is, hey, I was by noon, I was on the top of the list at Barnes & Noble, on the top of the list. I don't know if it was it Amazon?
Amazon, yeah.
Amazon, yeah, top of the list by noon, thanks to you. So it's amazing that what you said is interesting, because this is a little, I told Brian the other day, I said, I think it's important that people understand reality. They want to become an author and they have this idea, right? They have this dream, but they don't understand that 5% of your job is done, that you've gotten it all out of yourself, pretty on paper. Now you're about 95% from the finish line. And that is a little shocking to some people. Kind of like, I was talking to Brian before about his accomplishments, and I said, have you ever failed at anything? And he laughed, and I said, it's interesting that Babe Ruth was the strikeout champ. Theory was the home run king. With regards to authorship and all of this, have you had any failures you've had to endure to help redesign what you're doing to help people not make them?
Definitely. I mean, that's why I got into doing what I'm doing, because it took me probably about 1.5 years to even get my book done, only because I was procrastinating and I was allowing paradigms to get in the way. And then I finally got into gear and wrote the book in a month. And it doesn't have to take a month. I would just get up Monday through Friday early in the morning and write for an hour, and the book was done. I've written a book in a day, so it doesn't have to take a long period of time to do it. And then, of course, being ignorant at that point in my life, ignorant meaning not knowing, I just thought, write a great book. Well, you get it in the bookstores and then the buyers will come. No, they don't. You got to be sending the buyers into the bookstore. So I ended up going through another period of expectation that wasn't accurate. I spent all kinds of money. I mean, I was blowing through money right, left, and center. And not only that, months and months and months are going by and I wasn't experiencing any success. I found myself in a hole. And as Churchill said, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging.
Good idea.
I got to find the experts that know this business and know how to create success in this business. And I had come to know Mark Victor Hansen. And I
forgot to mention that name.
Yeah, I had gone to his seminars back in the 80s. And so I started talking to Mark because he was marketing the Chicken Soup for the Soul books and they were doing pretty good, right?
Yeah, they're doing all right.
So I decided I'm going to learn from the best. And I just found the best. I learned from them and I applied it. It's not enough to just learn it. We've got to apply it. And I think
this is, I think it's a big key that you have to understand that there's the dream of it, there's the vision of it, and then there's the action side of the reality the action has to be taken to bring the whole thing full circle while you're visualizing, feeling, desiring action. It's a package that, yeah.
It really is an example of that as well. I've got another, I want to show you this one. Just hold on a second here, because I think this is a great example for people because I love showing as well as telling. So can I share my screen again?
Please do.
Okay, so this is a video of the home that we live in right now. So I'm sitting in the office. You'll see a picture of the office right now.
Beautiful.
No, and it's 9,200 square feet.
I was going to say 10,000. I was close.
Yeah, and 7 bedrooms. It's on a private golf course. There's a golf course right behind us. And I mean, this was another example of just making a decision. I didn't know how I was going to, this house was, a few million more than the one that we were previously in.
Yeah.
And I remember when it came on the market and I said to my husband, I says, oh, look at this house. And he, of course, he was a price tag first. It's like,
sure.
What are you looking at? So I came to an open house. They actually had an open house for this home. And I came to an open house. And my first step was to decide, do I want it? And I think that's the first step to acquiring anything that you want in your life. Do you want it? I came in the front door. I thought, yeah, I felt it right away. Like, it was just so uniquely built. It was a custom build. There were so many upgrades and quality things in this home. I saw myself in here. I saw Denny in here. I saw us having family events, family dinners, celebrations, and client events as well. So when I saw it and decided, yes, this is the house that I want, I started to live in it. I was living it in my mind long before we physically moved in.
Sandy Gallagher did the same thing with her home out in Seattle, I think. Bob told her to go in each room. So you just said something that's interesting. You have client gatherings here, correct?
Yes.
Can you describe which one of your programs could have someone actually come here? How and why and when would they come here to interact with you in this beautiful, opulent, wonderful writing environment?
Well, that's a great question. I would say that it's, I'll just stop the screen share there for a moment. The only two things that we do where we have clients in our home is one, private mentoring. So I do have private clients that come into my home. They'll fly into Ottawa, or if they live in Ottawa, most of them fly into Ottawa, and we'll work right here in the home. And so
they will work right there.
Yeah, right there with me in the home. Now that if someone's interested in private mentoring, they actually have to send an email because it's not even on our website because it's not always available. And the other opportunity, and this you won't find on my website either because it's a high-end program that I'm doing with Phil Goldfine. It's called High-End Manifestors. And so we work with a relatively small group, and they will all be coming to my home as well. And we'll run this program a number of times throughout the year. So those are the only times that we actually have people in our home.
That's incredible, though. I noticed you and Phil were in Sarasota last Saturday. Yes. I didn't happen to be in Florida. That looked like you had a lot of fun making it. He's another one wanting to make a difference, isn't he?
You know, he loves it. And someone had asked him the question, like, why are you doing this, Phil? And because Phil's a very successful producer and he's producing multiple movies at any time. And he said he loves the material and he wants to help people. And he's really good at it. So we did this event called Masters Manifesting. We will be doing it again. And while we're at that event, I mean, that was the first time that we did an event together, just the two of us. But I knew instinctively that we would work really well together. And it was incredible. It was so harmonious. The people, the reviews, the testimonials of people that were in the room, off the charts. It was an incredible time. Oh,
I'm sure it was. Because both of you are just, you're both on purpose. You both have a mission, and I've met you both, and yeah, I'm sure that energy in the room was phenomenal. Okay, so all right, I think I have a kind of a picture of everything that you're doing. So the Power Life script, is there any way that they can access that? How would someone that says, here this goes, what's this Power Life script? How do I get it? How do I do this? What could they do? How could they reach out to you?
Well, we give away, this is actually a physical version of the ebook that we give away.
Okay.
Which they can get online. I suppose you guys can give them the links.
We will. We'll put your stuff in. Yep.
Perfect. So I would suggest they go and download this ebook. There's also a webinar where I talk about the process as well. So if you can give everyone the link so that they can go to the webinar and or the ebook, this is definitely how they can find out how to create their own Power Life script.
And myself, Brian, and Madison can all say, do that now. Don't wait. Don't, like Bob says, don't look to the left. Don't look to the right. Don't ask anybody. Just make a decision and move. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let me, if I may, dear, ask you maybe a little bit more on the personal side, coming back around to the personal side of you and your life and all that you've done. If today was Peggy's last day, what would you want to share with the world? What your time has meant here? What would you want to say that you would hope that they would hear and remember you by?
Yeah, I would say themselves. And I'm not talking about just money, like the money to invest in themselves, but invest the energy and the effort into creating their dream life, because it's absolutely possible. If I can go from who I was way back when, as you saw in the photo, living in that relatively small home, to where I am today. And again, it's not about the size. As you said, a small home is a nice home. It doesn't mean it's a good home or a bad home, but to go from struggle, misery, debt, wanting to end my life to where I am today, cherishing every moment to be living this opulent, incredible life. It's occurred because I've invested in myself. I've invested in the time, the energy, money for sure, effort into producing the results. But it's not complicated. This is all relatively simple stuff. And so if you just invest in yourself, you can be anything that you desire.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate the truth of that, because I believe that's true. Let me ask you something maybe a little bit more personal. Just 30 years from now.
30 years from now.
James is sitting reminiscing with a friend. Or Michelle. Is it Michelle, your son?
My son is Michelle, yeah.
Michelle, okay. They're sitting reminiscing with some friends, and they're reminiscing about you. What would you hope that they share, think, thought, and felt about you in your life and what you showed them and exampled to them?
Wow, that's a good question. I like that. I like that one a lot. Because, my son, my grandson, my husband, they're my three very important men in my life, and they're just great gifts in my life. I would hope that what they would be saying is that I was a woman of integrity. My highest value is integrity and honesty. And family is my priority as well. Priority number one is my family. And that they would be saying that even though I created this great success in this world, and even though I've helped millions of people achieve their dreams, that I was a woman who was a down-to-earth, very authentic. I love it. I love it when people say to me, "You're so authentic, you're so real." And I'm thinking, well, what else would I be, right? That I'm authentic, that I'm real, that I treated people well in this world, that I followed my passion. But I don't think they'd really be talking about that. I think they talk about the character. That would be my hope, is that they'd be talking about my character, and those would be the kinds of things that they would be saying.
That's nice. That's so interesting. You said what you said about being yourself, kind of. Oprah said that after she had retired and people would come up to her, and she said there was something started to form in what people would say to her. And she said she would hear over and over that we appreciated that you were committed to being yourself, because the fact that you were, we felt we could.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's really a beautiful thing. So my final question, and maybe your final statement of the day: the mayor of your hometown calls you, your hometown, and says, "Peggy, we're building a marble statue of you." And it's going in town square. And it'll probably last 1,000 years. We have a little area for an epitaph that anybody of the generations that walk up and read about you can look into your heart and soul and what you stood for as a little epitaph. What would you like us to inscribe on there for you?
That she was a dog with a bone.
You are a fighter, aren't you?
Yeah, I wrote a book about that as well.
I know you did. That's great. There it is. There it is.
When I first became an author, and frankly, anything that I've achieved, like the dream home, my first dream home that I purchased 25 years ago, anything that I've accomplished has been because I never gave up. I held on tight to the dream like a dog to a bone, and I'm not letting anyone take it away, and I was certainly not dropping it myself. And so I think that would be the thing. Recently when we were at the Paradigm Shift and Arash was on stage with Mike, they were doing an interview, and Arash said, Peggy is a dog with a bone. I forget why he was talking about me, but I remember him saying that. He said, Peggy is a bulldog. And I thought, I have a bulldog.
He doesn't know how much of a bulldog I am. Right there's the evidence.
And that's
that's a great. I tell you, I really appreciate you letting us kind of look behind the curtain on the woman behind this dynasty you've built, and these lives you've changed, and these people's lives you've helped with everything you're doing. The Power Life script, future artists and authors to write it's amazing. But thank you for letting us look behind and share a little bit about your personal life beyond the New York Times bestseller that we know you as, or the bestseller maker, the manifestation maker. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for letting us have a little piece of your life for a little bit this afternoon.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you for
So there she goes, ladies and gentlemen, Peggy McColl, New York Times best-selling author of over 16 books in 37 languages and 100 countries. Thank you, Peggy. We'll see you next time.